Welcome to Forensic Friday,
where we examine the intersection of true crime, psychology, and the heart of being human in the middle of it all. Well, hi, everybody. We are finally doing Columbine. We've been working on it for months.
I know. My brain is fried already.
It's so big. We both did the Dave Cullen book, Columbine, which is kind of like the source.
Yeah.
On Columbine. And I know multiple times we've looked at each other and said, I don't even know how you do this.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're going to do it. And I think we've landed on a pretty good outline that's going to highlight a couple things.
Hopefully.
We're kind of like full sending, but we do have tons of notes.
Yes. If you guys want like detailed stuff, go to the book.
Yeah, read the book.
It's insane. I listened to it on Audible and it's not boring.
It's not boring. I wouldn't be able to listen to it, I don't think, because I'm so auditory. I would keep it in my head forever. Reading helps me separate a little bit. I don't know how you do that. And you remember stuff.
Well, I take notes.
Yeah, you do take notes.
I have to take notes. But yeah, some of it I remember.
You know, it's interesting because one of the things Nat and I have talked about quite a bit leading up to this is why this matters so much to us. Everybody's covered Columbine. So why does it matter and what makes our take on it unique from other people's? And there's a couple of reasons. Number one,
we're from here.
We're locals.
Yep.
We're locals.
I mean, I was still in Summit County because I was a young kid.
Yeah, but you're Colorado.
Yeah.
I was a freshman in high school, Colorado Springs, which is about, I don't know, maybe an hour, 50 minutes from Columbine, something like that. Maybe an hour.
Probably like an hour or an hour and a half.
From the Springs, yeah. Not from where I live now, but from the Springs, an hour. And it is something that has really, it affected my life, has stuck with me, stuck with our whole country. Mm-hmm. The second piece is Natalie and I have worked extensively in Jefferson County, which is where all of this happened. Mm-hmm. So we've worked within the system in Jefferson County. We have worked with diversion officers in Jefferson County. Mm-hmm. We actually worked with this caseworker on occasion. Mm-hmm. I never met them in person, and I don't know him super well, but I've worked with him. I've sent reports to him before.
Yeah.
So we have kind of a personal connection there.
You're talking about, just to make it clear, the diversion officer.
The diversion officer. Yeah. And, you know, the third thing is Nat and I have a specialty in forensic psychology. Like, this is our jam. And what we want to do that's a little bit different is look at their state of mind going in, during, and then what happened to everybody after. Mm-hmm. What's the fallout? How did the system change? What work do we still have to do from a prevention perspective to keep this from happening? Because taking away the guns so far hasn't happened, and I'm not sure that would totally fix it.
No.
It's not just a mental health problem.
Well, no, but it's not just a mental health problem. I was talking to someone about this the other day, and because they were asking, like, well, what about the mental health medications they were taking and the link between that? And I looked at them and I said, it's the same argument as the gun argument.
Well, it's the same also any school shooters on meds.
Right.
Most likely. But that's not what caused it.
Because of their mental health. It's not the meds that are causing it. And so that's what I literally was like, it's like when people say, and I'm not saying we don't need more regulation around guns and gun control. I'm not saying that we don't need more regulation and safety and all of that.
Yeah.
But it's like saying the gun killed people. No, people kill people.
Yeah.
People who struggle with mental health kill people, whether they are on medication or not. It's not the medication that makes them snap.
That's exactly
right. Just like the
right.
gun doesn't shoot itself.
Absolutely. And there's not a profile. This is the thing. I've laughed with people before that the only real profile that works is gender. And even that, we've had more women since this, but it's still
pretty skewed.
Oh my gosh, it's boys.
Yeah.
Almost always boys. And beyond that, there's not actually a clear profile. So a lot of the kids who we would maybe suspect of doing something like this are truly just in need of support. And so we're going to really analyze that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I have a question to get us started.
Oh, I'm excited about this. What's your question?
What image do you have seared in your brain from this, from the Columbine shooting?
Patrick Ireland coming out of the window from the library.
Same.
Yep. Well, they only played it 1 million times.
I know.
But I remember seeing that and being like, oh my God. And I saw it when I got home from school.
Same. I was in my parents' bed that night.
Well, it's just, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrifying. It changed everything.
Yeah. I think I was in 4th grade.
Mm.
And the only reason I think I was in 4th grade is because I graduated in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, I remember I went to school and all the teachers were crying.
Mm.
And I remember my teacher, her name was Miss Robinson, and she was crying.
Ugh.
I know. That's why I remember I was in 4th grade, because of the teachers.
I remember they didn't tell us at school, and we weren't watching any footage at school, but they did like a loose lockdown, which I don't even know what that meant, and they didn't tell us what it meant. But because they didn't know what was going on, and I remember looking out the window, I was in a class, and I see our very small assistant principal walking up and down the thing with a yellow vest on. Mm-hmm. And I remember being like, what is happening? Like, I just didn't understand what was going on. And when I got home, I found out, and it really, really did change everything. Mm-hmm. And then I remember, and probably a lot of people in our age range, the kids in the school who were fit whatever profile was being thrown around at the time, which is not fully accurate, we'll get into. Mm-hmm. I remember there were a couple of boys who'd been picked on pretty bad. And one of them told me, I will let you know if we're going to shoot up the school.
Oh, wow.
I would tell you first.
That's a
I didn't do like a safe to tell. That wasn't a thing then. So I was like, thank you. End of story.
Well, you know what's sad is now we think of, you have a 9-year-old. I have a almost born child.
You do.
At this point, she'll be born.
Yes.
When everyone hears this. But
which is crazy to think about.
Oh, I know. That's the other thing. It's like a lot of times people teach their kids, like, be nice to everybody because you never know. And obviously be nice to everybody. Like, be kind, be a kind human and teach that.
You're so right, though. It's a different twist now.
But it's like a different motive. Uh-huh. Instead of like, just be nice. It's, hey, be nice and also be nice because you don't want to be the victim of a situation.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Which is just, still be nice. Teach your kids to be nice, but it sucks that the motive now is different.
Well, and that has literally nothing to do really with what happened. No. Which is going to be really interesting, I think, to get into.
Yes. I think a lot of people still think that that's why.
Absolutely. And especially people who aren't here. So Nat and I have had extensive training in treating first responders, what they go through, and also what drives this kind of behavior. And so, I've sat in quite a few trainings where Columbine has come up. I think people in Colorado are a little bit more informed just because of our local media. Mm-hmm. But I think countrywide, it still looks like a bullying thing.
Yeah.
So Nat, I know that you are going to take us through a fair bit of the background of the two boys. And I want to say again, really quick disclaimer. We are not getting into all of the actions, period.
No.
We're not describing injuries. We're not getting into any of that.
If you want that info, guys, the book.
You can go find it. That's not what is going to make us unique. What's going to make us unique is our particular expertise and our perspective on this. And so I wanted to put that out there. I still would listen with caution if you're somebody who's easily upset by these kinds of things, and there's no shame in that. So protect your mental health, but we are not going to get into all of that. And so it's still going to be interesting. We're going to get into some things you don't know, but not the injuries.
Mm-hmm. No. Or like the specific actions that the boys took that day, like specific people and
specific
whatever.
people. We're not getting into that.
Because y'all, I will be honest, like Janine said earlier, she read it, I listened to it. While listening to it, I mean, I had to take a break because there were some things that the book goes into detail about that I was like, dang.
I know.
Oh, I can't even imagine. So, yeah, we're not going to re-traumatize everybody with that.
Nope.
And if you choose to want to know more, again, I'm going to just, we might as well get a little bit of money for selling this book for the author.
We need to send Dave Golan a memo and be like, hey, we just pointed a bunch of people to your book.
Yeah, literally. It is a good book, so you guys should read it if it's something that you're more interested in knowing about. But so I did a little bit of research on both the boys' background. There's not like a ton in terms of how the story ends is like not far off from how it begins, I guess, if that makes sense.
No, I think that's fair.
Aside from Dylan's a little different. Well, Eric is too, I guess. So one of the things that I thought was really interesting in researching more about Eric and his family, they don't give a ton of detail on how his family was, which is unfortunate because I feel like with Dahmer or, some of these other like big name killers, there's so much information on how the family system was.
Yeah.
And there's just not a lot of that with these boys. So,
Do you think that's weird that we don't know that yet? Or do you think it's because the family is just locked down?
I think it's because the family's locked down and there probably wasn't enough legal evidence that like there wasn't enough of a paper trail to say like Eric was significantly abused or anything like that, where like Dahmer or any of the other big name serial killers, there was like paper trail of their childhood and things they went through. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, and also I know Eric was 18 when this went down. He had just turned 18. Was Dylan 18?
Yeah, they were both born in 81.
There was an element of, even though there was so much fascination with them, they were still treated to a degree like juveniles. And so what that means is...
Well, because they were still in high school.
They were still in high school. So I don't think the parents, the media, etc., they didn't have to divulge all of that stuff. And, Dylan's mom has been more open more recently. But at the time, I mean, the lawsuits and everything else that followed, I can kind of understand why why the families didn't want to share more for everybody to guess how they turned their kids into killers.
Well, and Dylan's mom didn't say this, but she might as well have been, or she might as well have, like, no one's proud of being the parents of a mass shooting.
No. Oh my gosh.
I'm not saying that they don't love their children, but it's not like they're like, oh yeah, my son is Eric Harris.
Yes.
Like they're not broadcasting that.
No, absolutely.
Maybe that's a mean way to put it, but y'all know me. I can't sugarcoat stuff. So here we are.
That's fair.
So Eric was born on April 9th, 1981 in Wichita, Kansas. I thought it was interesting that he was also born in April. Yeah.
That is interesting.
He had just turned 18 right before all this went down. Right?
Yes.
He was 18. His dad was an Air Force pilot. And so because they were in the military, he moved around a bunch, which I do know was hard on him because he was always the new kid, like consistently the new kid. And so I think he had a really hard time attaching to people and like didn't really know how to make long-term friends. And so I think that impacted his idea of like people are kind of expendable. Is that the word? Expendable?
That makes a lot of sense from an attachment perspective. Yes. Yeah.
So he didn't really, he kind of was like, I'm here and then I'm not here. I don't know if his dad was really strict, but you and I both have commented. In his high school years, his dad kept a journal of him.
The journal is epic.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I love his notes to himself. Like, he'll write about everything that's going on, and then he puts at the end, like, I don't even know a good example, but I think maybe he's lying to me. Check in on blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. But then he also is like, but he's innocent.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like there's no accountability.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, Eric, like any other kid, liked to play sports. He played Little League baseball. The Harris family moved to Littleton, Colorado in 1993 after his dad retired from the military.
Okay.
Yeah, he kind of appeared as a normal kid. He began to change a little bit, like his attitude and stuff. But, you know, he was a decent soccer player, wore preppy clothes at the time, which is different.
Yeah.
But also had a hard time fitting in at school. I think some of that had probably, if I had to guess, had to do with him just moving around a bunch. And then this was probably the longest that he stayed at a place.
Well, yeah. And one of the things I saw, I don't know if you saw this, but his best friends, not only was he a little bit sporty spice, but he also had two best friends. One was Asian and one was black.
At Columbine?
No.
Before Columbine.
Before Columbine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, there was no diversity in his life at Columbine.
Well, no, and the goth, emo, like that whole thing was not a thing before Columbine.
Right.
That I can find.
No, it wasn't. He wore preppy clothes.
He was preppy.
Yeah. Yeah, he looks like a normal kid, to be honest.
I know. One of the things in the book that made me laugh, they talked about, listen, I have a pretty intense disdain for Eric.
Yeah.
I have empathy for Dylan, but I
think that's most of the world, probably.
I think it's most of the world, if you know about Dylan, because still a significant portion of people think Dylan was just as psychopathic, and he's not.
No.
But
he still did a terrible thing.
Oh, he did a terrible thing and would be held accountable if he'd survived it, you know? But it's interesting because they talk in the book about how Dylan was kind of misfit looking, which we'll get into. Eric was pretty handsome straight on.
No, he was.
Pretty handsome straight on. On the side, though, like from side profile, which makes me chuckle because I love the side of Garrett's face, which is a weird thing to say, but it's just the truth.
Okay.
So if I'm riding with him in the car, I'm always like, I love your profile. It's weird. I know, but I love it so much. And I'm a passenger princess, so I'm forever looking at the side of his face.
Oh my gosh.
But they talked about from the side, weak jaw, sloping forehead.
For Eric?
For Eric.
Interesting.
So and then his nose was real long. And so from the side, he was not as attractive as he was head on. And then
he would have, he was a little awkward looking. He probably would have grown into himself.
Probably. And then he had are you going to talk about the pectus?
Oh, no, I forgot about that. So that's so interesting. What's it called?
It is called, hang on, I have it. I actually have it in my notes.
It's like your chest concaves in.
Yes, give me just a sec. I have it. Yes, pectus excavator.
Yes, so it's where your chest caves in.
Yeah, it's a congenital birth defect when you have an abnormally shrunken sternum.
Yes.
And he had surgery in high school to correct that. So
I have a friend who has that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, we're not really friends now, just because of distance and life happens. There's probably still an amazing human.
Yes.
But I had a friend in college who had that. And
a woman?
No, a man.
A man. I think it's more common in men. I think I read that in boys.
Yeah. And it's interesting because when I read that Eric had that, I was like, oh, my friend had that.
Yeah.
But it never really bothered him. I mean, he was an awesome, he is, I'm sure. I just keep saying was. He's still alive. He's married. I think he has kids.
Oh, yeah.
But, was a great guy, and I just it didn't even register. And then I was like, oh, interesting that Eric was so insecure about that.
Did your friend have surgery for it?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that Eric had surgery for it.
Yeah.
In junior high.
Well, it's a big insecurity, apparently.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, my voice. Well, hopefully my voice hangs in there.
You have some water too.
I do.
Get some water.
It's not that. It's just like
a tickle.
No, it's
reflux.
And from being sick.
I have a tickle, but otherwise I'm good. I'm not sick. Don't worry.
So that's kind of Eric's just very brief childhood upbringing. Okay. It didn't say much about Eric's mom. I think she was just kind of your normal mom.
I don't remember.
Oh, no, it's Wayne and Kathy.
Wayne and Kathy
are Eric's parents.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think they were just, Kathy was a pretty normal mom. I do wonder if she was like kind of scared of Eric at times because
oh yeah,
he could be pretty scary.
I think she was this is purely speculative. Anything we say about the parents or whatever,
yes,
total speculation. We don't know them, but my speculation is that Kathy had her hands full with Wayne and Eric.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yep,
I'm sure of it. I think Wayne was a individual himself.
He's a vibe. He feels like somebody we would have ended up working with eventually. Yeah. So Dylan was born on September 11th, 1981. Crazy.
In Colorado, which I think is wild that he was born on 9/11. Obviously, like years before.
Yeah, but it's a little traumatic. A little tragic.
Well, and that's the thing with like even just the Columbine shooting in general. Like all of these dates, besides Eric's birthday, but the fact that Eric was still born in April, and then the shooting happened in April, and then Dylan's born on September 11th. Hitler's birthday was on 4/20. National Pot Smoking Days on 4/20.
I know. I was thinking about how they both had used marijuana, particularly Eric.
Yeah.
And who shoots up a school on 4/20?
Well, I don't think the national holiday was that big back then.
Yeah, probably not quite. It's
always
been a thing, though.
Really? Mm-hmm. I don't think it was that big back then.
Yeah, not like it is now.
No.
But I mean, Colorado's the weed capital of the world.
Yeah, I mean, we were both at CU Boulder.
Do you remember Fair and Field?
Yes.
At Boulder on 4/20?
4/20 at 4/20. It was a shit show.
I got high just walking on the park.
Exactly. 4/20 is also my dad's birthday, so that's the only good thing about 4/20.
That's it. We love him.
I know, he's the best. But, Hitler's birthday, Columbine, National Weed Day. I mean, I guess it depends on your stance on weed. I'm neutral.
Yeah,
I don't really
me too.
care about it.
Same.
Anyway, so Dylan was born on September 11th, 81 in Colorado, in Lakewood. So he's a native. Mm-hmm. He was also kind of a normal kid. He did really well in school. He was really shy, but he also loved baseball, and specifically the Boston Red Sox. I have no idea why.
Yeah, that makes no sense, but good for you.
I know. I was like, Rockies probably sucked.
Yeah, they've always sucked.
There's a season where they were okay. I don't follow them at all.
The season when they lost the World Series?
Yeah, probably that season.
That's the one, yeah.
Okay. So what I thought was interesting, so I watched this documentary with Dylan's mom, actually. And
Sue Klebold.
Yes. And she said, she was interesting. She said when Dylan was born, his mom got this overwhelming feeling that her kid, that Dylan, would bring sorrow. She literally said that in this interview.
Can you imagine having a baby and thinking they will bring sorrow?
No, I'm like,
that's so creepy.
I'm about to have a baby.
Okay, that's really creepy. I never knew that.
Yes. Well,
Yikes.
Then they found out he was like super sick as an infant. And so she was like, well, maybe this is the sorrow because like of the fear and all of that. But yeah, like right when he was born, she just felt like this overwhelming sadness. Like happy that he's there, but sadness. And then they chalked it up to like, oh, well, maybe it's just because he got so sick as a baby.
Yeah.
So as we know, Eric moved around a bunch because of military. Dylan was through and through a Colorado kid.
Yep.
And the two met in 9th grade in high school when they went to Columbine.
Which is really crazy.
I know. Dylan was really into being behind the scenes and doing like production stuff for their theater program. And he was the sound guy and then worked at a local pizza place. And Eric was just kind of doing himself and, you know, wasn't
doing himself.
Yeah, that was probably a bad way to say that, but
he probably was.
He was just, you know, doing Eric shit, whatever that means.
Doing Eric things. Yep.
That's kind of the like little bit of history that I have on each of them. Again, it didn't go really into the parents. It didn't go deep into like dynamics in the home. Dylan does have a brother. His name's Byron, which he like pops up for like a split second in our storyline here.
Yep.
But overall, I mean, Dylan's mom, when she was talking about her family, really just was like, felt like she had two normal boys.
Yeah.
You know?
Just one that would bring sorrow.
Yeah.
Also, side note, the pizza place they worked at, Blackjack's, so good.
Oh.
I forgot it was good. My parents knew neighbors. Mm-hmm. You know, Kristen, who got us the Stanleys.
Yes.
Love her so much. Love her. I know we both have our Stanleys today, Kristen, just so there's that. Mm-hmm. They reintroduced us to Blackjack's because they moved here not that long ago. And girl, it's so good. I'm going to get it for you one of these days.
Okay, down.
It's so freaking yummy.
I mean, I love pizza.
But Blackjack's was like, I wonder if they had Fallout. Because that was something that was everywhere. Blackjack's. Because they worked there together.
Yeah. Interesting. What thoughts or questions do you have about their family based on what I shared?
Nothing really. I'm always, like you said, so curious about the deeper family dynamics. What were the brothers like together? What happened with the brother? Why did he become addicted to drugs and all that? But we don't have that. Mm-mm.
No, and I don't remember, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Byron, which is Dylan's brother, it wasn't like hard drugs. It was like marijuana.
Yeah.
Which is...
Yeah.
Whatever. Now.
Yeah, I don't get the sense it was like meth and heroin.
No, I think it was just marijuana. Like he was kind of being a rebellious teenager.
Yeah.
Young adult.
Totally.
So I think that's why the mom thought that she kind of had two normal boys, you know?
Yeah.
The wild part about both of them that I didn't realize until I was listening to that book, honestly.
Yeah. Is
how different Eric and Dylan were.
Yeah.
I had no clue. I thought they were both just little sociopaths. Mm-hmm. They're not. Come to find out. Eric sure as heck is.
Oh.
So Eric, and I'm going to probably interchange Eric and Harris because Harris is his last name. And I did that in my notes, so I apologize.
Perfect.
But I only did Dylan's name, so I'm not going to do the same thing with Dylan. So Eric had just visible rage, all the time. Even before all this stuff happened, he just was an angry guy.
Yes.
At one point, he was angry at a friend. This doesn't even involve the oh my God. Diversion stuff. I almost called it Divergent. Isn't that a movie?
It is a movie and a book.
Yes. I don't read that book.
Don't read that book.
I don't read books
I don't read full stop most of the time.
Yeah, I know I don't. I listen, but I sure as heck don't read books like Divergent. So he was angry at a friend at one point, threw an ice ball, an ice ball. So a snowball with ice in the middle of it.
Yep.
At a friend's windshield. I want to say it was Brooks.
It was.
Brooks and Nate kind of interchanged in my brain.
Yes.
But it was Brooks. It was Brooks.
Car. Yep.
So this is just an example of one of the crazy things that Harris did. He threw an ice ball at his buddy's car windshield, cracked the glass, and then later threatened to kill that person.
Well, yeah. So Brooks,
yes,
was like, dude, you're going to have to pay for my windshield. And he's like, I'm not paying for shit. Blah, blah, blah. So Brooks went home. Eric's backpack was still at Brooks's house.
Oh, yeah.
They commandeered his backpack, and that was their leverage.
Yes.
That was their leverage.
Hold on. Judy.
Brooks's mom is a literal superhero. We're going to talk about her quite a bit because she is everything you want in a neighborhood watch. Okay.
Yes.
So she's
yeah, literally.
So she takes off with the boys in the car. So it was Brooks and I think it might have been Dylan, but at least Brooks. I think there was another kid there though.
I thought it was just Brooks, Judy, and Brooks's dad.
No, there was another kid in the car. There were two boys in the car.
Okay, it was probably Dylan.
I think it was either. It was
Dylan.
It was either Dylan or Nate because they had that little group.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, she goes rip roaring up to where Eric was and rolls down the window and is like, "I have your backpack. I'm not giving it back until we go talk to your mom."
No, his dad.
Whoever.
Yeah,
we're gonna go talk to whoever. He runs over to the car, holds onto the car, and starts screaming.
Yes.
And Judy said it was like an animal. Like it was terrifying.
Yes.
And she even makes the comment, well, the book, I guess, makes the comment that Dylan would go up and down. Like Dylan was a very emotional human, which I know you're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. Eric, though, when he was screaming, she felt like he was going to do it. Like he was going to do something bad.
Yes.
So Brooks's mom, Judy, did go tell Kathy, Eric's mom. I don't know if they involved the dad. Did they involve the dad? Okay.
They did because that was one of the examples that he wrote about him. And I think he said boys will be boys.
Yeah, that's like very on brand for Eric's dad, unfortunately.
Pretty sure that's how pretty sure Wayne was like, yeah, boys will be boys.
Wayne's like, Wayne's like, everyone's overreacting. Everyone needs to relax. Like, that's the vibe.
Yes, and
his brother's like,
here we are.
One of the worst psychopaths in history.
His brother?
Oh, his son. We're such a shit show. His son's one of the worst psychopaths in history. And he's like, boys will be boys. Let them live. Judy, take a chill pill.
It's fine.
Yeah, he thought Judy was being hysterical.
Yes. Yeah, and we'll get more into Wayne and some of his weird journaling later, but... So stay tuned, y'all.
Oh, here we go.
So Dylan, on the other hand, was a little bit more, like you said, he was way more emotional.
Yes.
I mean, both of them are emotional, obviously, but Eric operated out of literal anger all the time.
Just anger. Yep. Yes. Anger.
Yep. Whereas Dylan was actually like way more emotional. Obviously, depressed, later it came out he's depressive and all of that. But way more empathetic, would you say? Like, could had the ability to have empathy, wanted, like, battled between, like, good and bad. And
oh, so many themes of that. And
oh, my gosh.
Honestly, Judy, again, superhero, talked about those boys growing up together, Brooks and Dylan and a couple of other their little friends. Dylan was cool, sweet, kind, fine, until he wasn't. Mm-hmm. So Dylan could have moments that were scary when he would get angry, but for the most part.
But his anger was more, I literally wrote, he was more of an internally tortured, quote unquote, soul. Right? Like loneliness was his foundation.
Yes.
Not anger.
I agree with that.
Whereas for Eric, it was like pure anger and hatred was his foundation.
Yes.
Which you and I talk about a lot in groups and like with the population we work with. Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, loneliness or like some level of sadness or whatever is the driving force of why people do what they do. But there is the small population where that's just not true. And it's just pure anger and control and...
Well, and those are the clients, Nat and I were just talking about this last week. Those are the clients who we can have a room full of men and there's one loose cannon and all of the men can feel it.
Yeah.
And usually that person is rooted in anger and rage.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing with Dylan, though, the reason why I think he went between like that loneliness and anger is because he also had really high expectations of people.
Yes.
Interestingly enough. And so when they didn't meet his expectations, he would get super annoyed by people.
Yeah. Perpetually kind of disappointed and disgruntled.
Literally.
Yeah.
what was interesting about Dylan is he went between love and hate of faith too and God. But he literally compared himself. Those of you guys who maybe know a little bit about the Bible or who are Christians and know about the Bible, he compared himself to Job in the First Testament, which, like, Job was a tortured soul.
Tortured, suffering. Everything happened to Job.
Yep.
Well, and it's interesting because the other thing that he references is being clean.
Yes. I was literally just about to say that.
Oh, you can say it.
Oh, no. It's just like he wanted to cleanse himself.
Yes.
He constantly felt like a cleansing of his soul needed to happen.
Yes.
Which was where the suicidal thoughts later came in.
Well, and don't you get the sense, and this would have been really on brand for this time, this time period, there's a little bit of a prosperity gospel kind of idea that if I cleanse myself, my life will get better. If I cleanse myself spiritually, I'm going to have friends, maybe a girlfriend. And so when that doesn't happen, he feels extra smited.
Well, yes, but so going back to what you were saying though, before he gets to the angry part, he didn't see the purpose of his body, but focused more on his soul.
Yes.
So that's why suicide was always such a big thing for him.
Yes.
Because his body served him nothing. But it was his soul that he wanted to be clean.
Yes.
Right? So he didn't really want to kill anyone else. He really just wanted to kill himself from when he was young, beginning of high school.
Extraordinarily focused on suicide.
Yes. He just wanted peace.
He wanted peace.
That was the biggest thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And again, kind of like him, right? His tortured souls, his tortured soul self. He really always wrestled with good and evil, love and hate. I mean, you read his journals and a lot of it, like we said, was based on suicide, but a lot of it was based on love.
Yeah.
And hate. And we'll get some more into that here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Of probably in the next episode leading up to what happened.
Yes.
Stay tuned, y'all. We have a lot for you. This is just kind of the background work of the whole situation of these boys.
Yeah. And I just have one thing to add. So maybe two little things. So one is physically, Dylan was really tall.
Yeah.
And that's it in high school. Every guy wants to be tall. He was over 6 feet.
But he was skinny.
Skinny. But they were both little.
Yeah, they were both skinny.
But Dylan was really tall and he slouched.
Yes. And Eric was short.
Eric was little.
Short for a guy, I guess. 5'9".
Eric, when you see them standing next to each other.
Oh, yeah.
He's looking at his Adam's apple.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's there's a difference there for sure.
Oh, yeah. No, I think Eric was 5'9".
But Eric carried himself with a lot of confidence, and Dylan would kind of slouch down. And he didn't love that everybody was looking at him, partially because of how tall he was.
Yeah, buddy.
I bet, buddy. And then also in his journal, I just wanted to mention, because, I rail on purity culture every chance I get. One of his fixations, along with being clean, he would reference pornography. So one of the things that he would do is he'd see pornography and then he'd be kind of low-key horrified that he saw pornography. And so he'd wrestle with, I need to cleanse myself. I'm not looking at porn. I'm not doing all these things. Why won't God reward me? Right?
I'm being good.
Yep.
Why can't I get a girlfriend to love me?
Yeah. And he really wanted,
loved.
he didn't really want friends. Friends wasn't the thing. He wanted a romantic love more than anything. Which also jives with that whole purity culture. I kiss dating goodbye. You just go straight to finding your person. So I do see roots of that in Dylan. Yeah. Not in Eric.
No.
But getting laid was one of Eric's to-do items.
I know. Which
Godspeed.
Well, and it's incel, I don't know if it was an actual titled thing back then. I don't think it was. But they would be incel. Yes. Not Dylan.
Maybe. I don't think so. I think Dylan wanted a soulmate love. Incels are pissed that they can't have sex. Dylan doesn't talk about even having sex with these
That's true.
people.
That's
and
true.
he thought porn was gross. He looked at it, but he thought it was gross.
Yeah.
Eric, I could see a little bit of that, but Eric had a lot of success with the ladies.
Yeah, but he didn't sleep with anyone.
He didn't get there.
No.
Not for lack of trying.
Right. That's why he'd be incel.
Yeah, he could be incel.
Yeah. One other thing that I wanted to say about Dylan is he often had a lot of crushes.
Oh.
Like he crushed on ladies and he went to prom and, you know, I know we'll get into that, but, but he had good thoughts. Like he wanted a different life than what he was living.
Yes.
And I think he just felt really trapped in himself.
Well, and like if he liked a girl, he might bring Chips Ahoy cookies to the classroom. Like that was an example.
Yes.
So he was kind of a cute little flirt that way.
Yes.
But
Sweet
quiet.
and sweet.
Quiet. But he might like bring cookies. Like that was his move.
Yes.
Eric's move was a whole nother thing.
Eric was just a force of nature.
Yeah. Force of nature.
Okay. So all of this is leading up to
shenanigans.
The boys getting into some trouble.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things is Eric has all of the markers of antisocial personality disorder by this point.
Yes. And I don't think I mentioned yet that Eric also wanted to be a Marine. Did I mention that?
That's right. He did. You didn't mention it, but yes.
Yes. He wanted to be a Marine, which is really interesting. And because that happened right before Columbine.
Yeah, right before.
Or at least an interview. But he really wanted to go into the military, which I find pretty interesting. And I have a lot of military friends. I have a lot of family who are in the military or who are retired. And so I'm not saying this as a blanket statement.
No.
However, I do think sometimes when people have some of these who are on the psychopathy spectrum, the military is a really appealing thing.
Yeah. Oh, at law enforcement.
Yes.
Medicine.
Yes.
You know, where you have power, therapists. They're drawn sometimes to be in charge of other people, you know?
Yeah, but military specifically because of the perceived violence of military.
Well, it's like when we looked up the executioner job title, like, maybe it's just a psychopath that found a career role. Obviously, we respect our veterans, our military.
Yes.
But there is probably a subset. And this is probably a good place to mention the video games. So they were playing Doom. Eric was playing Doom pretty incessantly. He was better than everybody at it until he met Dylan.
And then Dylan was better. They were a pretty good match, though. But Eric's involvement in the game got more and more violent and sketchy. And when you're in the military, one of the ways that you train is simulation. Yes.
Right? And so when this first happened, everybody was like, it's the video games. But really, it's not the video games. It's exposure to violence is not great, right? And there is some truth that if you're practicing something and desensitizing yourself, playing a game, that it could play a role to a degree in the disinhibition to do something like this.
Yes. Yeah.
But he was definitely playing things out in Doom.
Yes. So one of the things that kind of started triggering some of their behavior, at one point, Dylan stole a computer. Okay. He got caught and immediately confessed. It was literally noted that Eric could have gotten out of it. Like he would have figured out a way to get out of being in trouble for stealing this computer.
Oh, yeah.
So it shows how different their psychological makeup was.
Yes.
Right? Dylan was like, I'm caught. Okay, I did it. I'm sorry.
I did it. Yeah.
And Eric would have been like, no, I was borrowing it and they just forgot. Or,
Eric would have been like, remember when you told me to get it?
Yes.
The gaslighting around Eric was intense.
Yes. Yes. So it just shows how differently minded they were.
Oh, yeah. Very different humans.
One last piece before we get into what I literally have titled Shit They Did. Is they both got good grades. They were both really good students. Which
Geniuses.
Is
like, so smart.
Yes. Because a lot of times I think now they see kids will struggle a lot in school.
Yes.
Who end up, bringing guns to school or hurting people at school. They typically aren't great students.
Totally.
Or they might be smart, but they're not doing well. They both did really well in school.
They were smart, like classically, philosophically smart. Like they would just unpack these deep thoughts that I can't remember ever having.
Yep. So, yeah, no. It's wild. Their brains are pretty wild. So, shit they did. Here we go. Like I said, Dylan stole a computer, got caught, was like, ooh, okay, I did it. And Eric would have been like, why are you saying that? We didn't do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Somehow, like, he would be holding the computer and be like, no, I didn't steal this.
Or he'd be like, Dylan did it.
Well, he does do that later. Which is crappy. But, so I'm going to just kind of name some of the stuff.
Do it.
We're not going to get into, like, the whole nitty-gritty of some of these things, except for one piece. But, so the duo got in trouble with a third guy. I don't know who it was. It was either Brooks or Nate.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest. And they hacked into the school computer system.
Oh, good Lord.
I'm like, here's the thing. Hackers, I don't even get it.
Oh, me neither.
I could never.
I just know they type real fast in the movies. Garrett's a little bit, like, could be a hacker probably. He understands how things work.
Yeah.
Coding, something with coding.
Yeah.
And lots of typing.
My sister-in-law, Arliss, could be a hacker. She is a hacker.
She's the coolest.
Technically.
We need to have her on here.
She, like, helps people in, like, Australia fix their computers and stuff. Like, she can, like, get into their computer system and... I know.
That's amazing.
I probably shouldn't tell people that.
I'm sure it's allowed hacking.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like she works for a company and she helps people in the tech world. She's an engineer.
There you go.
Anyway, sorry, Arliss.
You're not a hacker. You're an engineer.
Yeah, who can hack? Just kidding.
But you probably could if you wanted to, because you got a big, beautiful brain.
100%. She's so funny. We just had her baby shower for her twins. Oh my gosh. Here's the thing. I could not. I was like praying for twins.
No.
I can't. I couldn't.
Well, where would you put it?
Nowhere.
You've got one in there and it's a lot.
I can't move.
No.
It's terrible. I pray for Arliss every night when I'm getting in and out of bed to pee 1,000 times.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, she knows this. So the boys hack into the computer system and got locker combinations to steal people's things.
It's freaking genius. So they hack in and get all the combinations.
Yes. Just to steal people's stuff.
Cool.
They got caught. The third guy bailed, whoever that was. They bailed on them.
Smart guy.
I know. And I can't remember how they got out of it, but Eric came up with something and they did not get in as much trouble as they should have.
That was Nate. So the 3-person friend group was Nate, Dylan, and Eric.
Yes.
Nate got a girlfriend and started backing off. He also wasn't just quite as criminally inclined.
No, he's just a high school boy.
Yeah, and he got a girlfriend and he was kind of doing his thing.
Yeah, but Eric hated that.
Oh, that made him big mad.
Yes. Eric did not like when people bailed.
Well, Eric's like, I put all this work into recruiting you and you're just going to walk away?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did not like it. No.
Eric was like a weird... Nah, I don't even want to say it that way. I would say he was like a weird loyalist, but he wasn't. He was not loyal, but if you weren't loyal to him... Oh, yeah. It was like game over.
Well, it's all about him. That's the psychopath game.
Yeah.
Everything's about him.
Yeah. This gets a little fuzzy, so if you want to jump in, because if I have this wrong, please do. I don't think I do, but I would have to go back through the book, and that book is hefty.
Well, and I just did all my notations are in there. I just skimmed it to make sure I didn't miss anything. So.
I know. I should have bought the book.
Lay it on me, bud.
So on another day, Super Bowl Sunday, the Broncos were actually playing that year.
Yes.
Eric brought Dylan and Nate, so their third buddy, to a place to set off bombs.
Yep.
So that was like some of what they like to do for their free time. So when we're doing evaluations, one of the criminogenic needs is antisocial behaviors.
Which is actually one of the biggest ones. It's not mental health. It's this shit.
Yes. So this, like, boys going and setting off bombs, even if it's not hurting anybody, is a antisocial activity.
Yeah, and most people have an element of self-preservation.
Yes.
And I remember we went and saw fireworks in Wyoming. We went up to my mother-in-law's cabin, and they're legal. It's all legal up there. And one of the guys who was there made a little mini pipe bomb and threw it in a hole in the ground.
Oh, gosh.
And I mean, it was really scary. I was pregnant, so I was hiding in the garage. But he threw it in the ground and it made a massive boom. And it was not a lot of stuff.
That's wild.
That he put together. So I was thinking about that when I was reading the book. And they were building, I mean, they had rudimentary stuff at first, but it was making noise. And if you know anything about Colorado, they could have burned down their neighborhood too.
Well, yeah. Well, and that's actually one of the things that Eric got accused of, which we'll talk about. Not burning down a neighborhood, but
yeah,
could have.
Could have. Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, that was stuff they did. They also really liked to go shooting in the national forest.
Yes.
Just on their free time.
Well, they went to Rampart Range, which I know people who would go up there and shoot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But they would also just go shoot in national forest at trees.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Then, on a Friday night, Dylan and Eric went out to get into some trouble, right? Shit they did. And they saw a van. So this is the van story.
I love the van story.
I know. And here's the thing, y'all. They did a bunch of stuff. Like,
oh, so much.
Actually, before I get into the van story, there's another situation where, and it wasn't necessarily proven to be Eric, but there was speculation. But he was going around allegedly putting glue in, like, car locks and home locks.
Yep.
So people couldn't get in and out of their cars or homes.
That makes sense.
And also setting fire to trees in their yards.
Yep.
Which was why I alluded to, like, he could have burned down neighborhoods.
Yep.
Because he would go and do this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right? This, again, lines up with the antisocial behaviors.
Yes.
Pointing to the fact that he probably would have been diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder.
Yep.
Anyway, I digress. So Friday night, Dylan and Eric go out to get into some trouble. They see a van. And they're basically like, oh, van's unlocked. We're going to steal stuff. But you know who steals stuff this time? Who do you think?
Dylan.
Dylan stole stuff while Eric stood watch and made Dylan do all the dirty work.
Yep.
Who's surprised?
Yeah, well, he had to have plausible deniability if anything went down.
One that he did later. Because he's a little poop head.
Oh, such a weenie.
Such a weenie. Anyway, I was about to make a height joke, but I'm not going to do that. Sorry.
No, but he really, I mean, come on, bro. And he was directing Dylan. I mean, he's literally telling Dylan what to do, but he's not, but he's standing away.
Yeah.
That was also part of the grooming. So Eric groomed the shit out of Dylan, not sexually, but criminally.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, hey, let's do this. And he would float more and more stuff.
Yes. He would keep pushing his boundaries.
Yep.
So they actually had to break into the van with a rock. So it wasn't even unlocked.
Yeah.
Eric left Dylan to steal the stuff. They only took some things. I mean, not like, you know. And then they drove deeper down. They were at Deer Creek Canyon Park. So then they drove deeper into the park to look at what Dylan took. Well, little did they know, Jeffco Sheriff Deputy Timothy Walsh was watching.
Oh, yeah. And if you don't live in Colorado, you can see everything. If you're up high enough, you can see for miles. And they were in pretty much an open field.
Yeah. So, well, and then he could hear them.
Oh, yeah.
When they stopped their car to look at the stuff they took, he was listening to them. Yeah. And eventually, you know, approached and Dylan confessed to everything. And Eric just kind of let him take the blow.
Yeah. Well, and I think at one point he kind of implicated Dylan, like let him take the fall, but then also kind of.
Oh, yeah,
but I think he overtly blamed him.
Oh, 1,000%.
So it wasn't just that Dylan took credit and then Eric or confessed, and Eric was like, yeah.
No. Yeah, no, Eric let him
Eric was kind of like, yeah, Dylan took the stuff. Dylan took all the stuff.
No, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Eric pulled himself out of that. But he didn't actually do that in front of Dylan. He just let Dylan take the fall in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
And was, like, just kind of stayed quiet, which was new for Eric.
Yeah.
Because Eric probably, and I don't remember if Dylan thought this or said this at any point, but it was kind of thought like, why didn't Eric step in and take over? Because he could have probably easily figured out a way out of this.
I think Eric, to be honest, I think he was actually floored.
He was.
Because he was so in control and he planned and he really did think things through.
Not with this stealing thing though.
No, but this was one of the things where, first of all, they're very smart. They're still 17 years old.
Right.
And I just think they were impulsive and they thought there'd be no one around. And they had convinced themselves there'd be nobody around.
Yep. So they were arrested, obviously, and could have been charged with 3 felonies, including a Class 5 felony.
Yep.
When they were being questioned, that's when Eric threw Dylan under the bus and ran him over again.
Absolutely. When Eric figured out I could actually get in trouble, he's like, oh, you're looking for this guy.
Literally just blamed Dylan. Said he did it all. It was his idea. He stole the stuff. Eric was innocent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So after this, Dylan's mom wanted to get Dylan a therapist because she was like, well, something's up. This is not good. Right. But Dylan said that he would prove that he's okay. Cause she was like, he's just not okay. Like, what is happening? They're now on diversion. Yeah. Which we'll talk about diversion here in a little bit. But she was like, I'm worried about him. So he told her that he would prove to her that he's okay and that he didn't need a therapist and that he wouldn't get in trouble again.
Well, and I want to mention one other thing Dylan was struggling with, and I think his mom was picking up on it.
What?
Before they went on diversion, Dylan wrote Eric's website, because Eric had a super violent website.
Oh, yeah.
Dylan wrote the website address on a scrap of paper and gave it to Brooks.
But yes, this was before diversion.
But it was the day before. The day before diversion started.
Oh, interesting.
So Dylan hands this to Brooks, knowing that Brooks is going to tell his parents.
Yes.
Eric, they're both facing felonies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So the reason
I put this later in my notes, but keep going.
Yeah. Well, the reason that Dylan did this is he knew where this was going and he didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So I think Dylan tried to sabotage diversion, and that shows up through his diversion experience. So that's just what I wanted to mention.
Yes. Yep. No, that's a good.
Judy, superhero Judy, and her husband contacted the sheriff's office. They did not contact the DA.
No. They did nothing with the information.
And if they contacted the DA, the boys might have been pulled off of diversion and they might have done some jail time. Yeah. They would have faced consequences.
Which I think Dylan wasn't as scared about, because I think he was actually not wanting to go through with the plan that they had.
Yeah, and I think he would have tried to kill himself. This was his whole plan, was just to kill himself. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So diversion was a crap show, y'all. Like, long story short, total shit show.
Yes.
Eric snowed all the therapists.
Oh, yeah.
Tricked them all, made them believe that he was like bought in and that he had learned his lesson.
That he was working hard on things.
Blah, blah, blah. And again, I forget the situation. You might remember, Janine, at one point, he was trying to snow Judy.
Yeah.
And she was like, I see right through your bullshit, basically.
She basically told him that.
Literally.
To his face.
And he got super pissed and was like, are you calling me a liar? And she was like, absolutely. Like, yes, I am.
Judy!
And he was mad.
Oh, yeah.
So he didn't like when people didn't buy into his stuff, but diversion did. His therapist did. Yeah, his therapist was like, wrote him a great review. They wrote Dylan a good review too, but Dylan wasn't as sly.
Well, and Dylan didn't do the things really that they asked him to until towards the end. He was getting D's.
Yeah.
And if you don't know about diversion, it's a form of like probation, but it's like
for teens.
Kind of for teens. Some adults get it too, but it's like a first-time offender.
Yeah.
And diversion is just what it says, to divert you away from further criminal activity.
Yeah.
And not just lock you up.
Yeah.
So the thing that's interesting about it is...
Now we call it a deferred sentence or judgment.
Deferred. Well, and they still have diversion.
Yeah.
They still have diversion. So
we don't see it as much now, though.
Well, that's because it's a Jefferson County.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Thing.
That's
so
true.
What's interesting to me is I think Dylan wasn't performing, wasn't snowing, wasn't anything. He did get through it at the end.
Yeah.
But Eric literally wrote in his journal, I should get an Oscar.
Yeah.
For his performance on diversion.
Yeah, no, he's like the worst.
He'd give them just enough so they feel like they're helping him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. So Eric technically shouldn't have finished his diversion program because he was 4 hours short on his community service.
That's such a psychopath thing to do, too. Oh, my gosh. Nat almost fell off her ball. That was so scary.
Oh, my chair's behind me. It stopped me.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I know. It is such a psychopathic thing to do. He was 4 hours away. It was like right up to the time that he was supposed to get off, and he wouldn't have gotten off if he didn't finish it. So he sweet talked his way into having, I don't remember. I think he was volunteering at a rec center or something.
Yes, probably.
But he sweet talked the supervisor into signing off the extra 4 hours.
Well, and that's a game for a psychopath. He may have literally never planned to do those 4 hours. He was just
I don't think he was.
Let's just try this first.
I bet he was like, that'll be close enough.
100%. And I'll handle the rest and then enjoy doing it.
Yep. The other interesting thing is that he told his therapist, he was quote unquote so honest with his therapist and was like, at first he was trying to snow everyone and say like how helpful the anger management stuff was and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And then finally said that it was all a waste of time. And his therapist was quote unquote proud of him for being so honest.
Well, Nat and I work with people on the psychopathic continuum.
Yes.
They say this stuff. That's what's so funny about it. They'll be like, well, I hope you guys don't think I'm just trying to bullshit you. Or they'll say something like, I came in here ready to bullshit you, but now I really care a lot.
Yeah.
Right? You hear all this different stuff. This is part of the game.
Yeah. Him admitting that he thought it was BS is him literally playing a therapist game.
Absolutely. And these poor therapists, they weren't as hip to the psychopathy thing. Now there have been a lot of developments in that field since then.
I mean, this was in the early 90s. So
in the early 90s. So he looked compliant. Now we might look at that and go, there's more going on here.
Yes. Yeah, he is what I would have called, and I say this all the time, he would have been quote unquote too good.
Too good.
And we have some people like that.
We sure do.
And I'm going to just toot my own horn here. I have great spidey senses when it comes to that.
You do.
And I can always tell, I'm like, this person's too good. And then we figure out a way to understand more of their brain and how they operate. And it comes out, y'all, almost every single time.
Well, and the other funny thing about me and you is you get the spidey sense and you're so accurate. It's ridiculous.
I know. It's weird.
I'm pretty accurate too. But the thing that I will do is I will literally go sit in a room with them and be like, you're trying to snow me. I don't believe what you're saying right now.
Yes.
But like with a smile on my face and a coffee in my hand.
You're so nice about it.
But it's wild, though, the responses you get. Because there's a little bit of like, there's not a ton of anxiety. They start working you. They start playing this game.
Yeah.
Eric played a masterful chess game. And to those practitioners, my heart goes out to them because we've been snowed too.
We have been.
And we're probably getting snowed right now. I mean, that's just, it's part of working in this arena.
Yes.
But I will say to them and for them, this was a once in a generation level of psychopathy.
Yep.
I mean, if he's famous for anything, it's being a spot on, dead on psychopath.
Yes. And it came to fruition so early on in his life.
Because he couldn't wait.
Yes.
So when you think about Dahmer, you think about, oh my gosh, who was the other one that was just in my brain?
I know who you're thinking of. I can't think of his name either.
Oh, BTK.
Yes.
You think of Dahmer, you think of BTK. You think even of people who are in their 20s and 30s killing people.
Yep.
He could not wait.
Nope.
And getting to 18 was hard for him.
I know.
He could not wait to do this.
Crazy.
Yes.
One of the things that the forensic psychologist that we'll talk about later
Yes.
Thought was interesting was that he did learn quite a bit in anger management, actually. Just not in ways that would be beneficial to the community.
To society.
Yeah. It's just more for him.
I'm talking about Eric.
Yep.
This is the thing. Okay. This is a great place for us to maybe end today a little bit.
Well, hold on. I want to say the things he learned that benefited him.
Oh, do it. Yeah, sorry.
So he learned in his program, the 4 stages of anger.
Oh, gosh.
Which helped him know more about himself.
Yes.
To fuel his fire.
And other people.
Well, yeah. But to offend other people, to be an offender.
Yes.
So the 4 stages that he learned was quick breathing, tunnel vision, tightening of muscles, and clenching his teeth. The triggers were warning signs for him for his anger. So this literally helped him know more about himself, increased his sense of self-awareness to his anger.
Yes.
Which most humans, 90% of humans would take that and be like, okay, I need to calm down. He used it as fuel.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, total sense. And this is literally why you and I have a whole program devoted to separating out people that we're assessing to see if we're making them worse/more effective.
100%.
And the people who are really ready to learn these skills and use them in their lives appropriately.
Yep. So one of the things that was mentioned is he could literally, so if he knew that these things were coming up, he would mask it. Right? So if he felt, oh, I'm clenching my jaw, he would figure out how to relax his jaw so people couldn't tell. I don't know. They literally made him a better, which sucks. This is why we don't put in individuals who we believe could be on the psychopathy spectrum in a process group.
Oh, we don't put them in process. Last thing I want
to teach someone is how to be more of a normal human.
And to teach them the inner workings of quote unquote normal, neurotypical people. Yes. Because, we're just giving them a hammer.
Ammo. I would rather tell them, hey, I think this is what's going on with you, and I'm going to help you survive in your world.
Yes. Well, and that's something that I think people would be really, really surprised if they sat in our sessions.
Yeah.
Not our general counseling sessions, but when we are really assessing psychopathy, we will tell people straight up.
Yep.
Hey, we've done this work. We've asked you all these questions. We've assessed these things. You don't experience this like other people. And they will say, I don't. Some will. Some will admit it. Some will be cagey and manipulative.
Yep.
But some of them will actually kind of say uncle and go, I've been different my whole life, honestly. And then we have to figure out if they're bullshitting us or not, which is the whole thing. Because they might be snowing us with a little bit of admission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which happens. So, that was their diversion experience. They both got through it. They both passed. And the crazy part about this is they finished diversion 10 weeks before they shot their high school. 10 weeks before Columbine.
That's just
eerie.
It's eerie. And I just really feel for those people.
Yeah.
Because if you were involved with his case at all, if you were his judge, if you were his, provider.
Yeah.
This is the stuff we lose sleep over, is missing something.
I have beat myself up over completing people. And then they call me a year later and they're like, hey, I reoffended. And I'm like, what did we miss?
What did we miss?
What did I miss as a clinician, as a literally trained professional in this?
Yes.
So I can't imagine being one of their therapists or being in their diversion program.
No.
I can't imagine.
No.
The guilt. I probably would quit my job.
Oh, I would too.
To be honest.
I think it's really a testament that caseworker stayed, that some people stayed.
And learned from it.
And learned and also helped others learn.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a good stopping point because technically...
We're getting into the other stuff.
We're into the 10 weeks now leading up to Columbine, which is kind of a perfect place to wrap it up for today.
Yep.
So I hope you guys learned some new things. Yep. Next episode, we're going to hit the ground running with the 10 weeks leading up to Columbine.
And then a little bit about the Columbine stuff.
Oh.
Like the actual
Columbine, shooting. The actual shooting, the fallout, the changes. And then we got some heart for you because that's what we do here.
Yep. I would say the heart for today is honestly, how do we help encourage and implement and educate providers?
Yes.
Like, I think that's a good heart spot to stop at today and we've come so far since all this happened, but to continue to educate providers and to not encourage people to run away from this work.
Yes. And Nat and I have a lot coming down the pipe in this regard. This is something we're really passionate about.
So thanks for listening, you guys, and stay tuned for part 2 next week. As always,
bye, forensic friends. I'm Janine.
And I'm Nat.
And as always, thanks for listening, and join us next week for more crime, psychology, and heart.